Welcome to the Virtual Antics Podcast, where we help entrepreneurs streamline their business to six figures and beyond. These short, sweet, and info-packed episodes will inspire, educate, and leave you feeling motivated to take one more step forward in your business. So put down your never-ending to-do list, because in this podcast, we are interviewing the best of the best in the entrepreneurial world as they spill their secrets to success. This podcast is sponsored by Nodora, the all-in-one software for entrepreneurs to grow their business with unlimited landing pages, automations, emails and text campaigns, and so much more. I'm your host, Natalie Guzman. Now let's get into it. Welcome back to the Virtual Antics Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Natalie Guzman. Today, I have the amazing Annie Margarita Yang on the call with me. She is the definitive voice in millennial finance, specializing in strategies for beating today's tough economic challenges. She is the author of an award-winning, best-selling new book, The 5-Day Job Search, which helps young professionals get out of student loan debt while finding the ideal job. Welcome, Annie. How are you doing today?
Natalie, I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on the Virtual Antics Show.
Hey, I'm so excited you're here. So tell us a little bit about you and what you do.
So what I do is I help people personally brand themselves online so that they can be positioned as an industry expert and get more opportunities, because I have seen the craziest scandals in the last 10 years, from Elizabeth Holmes and her Theranos and Sam Bankman-Fried and the cryptocurrency. It's crazy. You know, all these people who somehow make it to like the Forbes 30 under 30, who have no substance behind them, but they have gotten on these lists. And then they are said, you know, to be self-made billionaires because of their company has been valued at such and such, turns out to be a scam. And now it's worth nothing. And so what I help people do is to brand themselves, because there are a lot of people, especially, you know, people on your show, they're entrepreneurs. They're looking to break from 6 figures to 7 figures. And I feel like these are the people who work hard. You know, they work hard, they grind at their business, and these are the people who deserve airtime. They deserve to show off their expertise because they know what they're doing, and I think they should be recognized.
Oh, that's amazing. So what are some of the benefits from branding yourself?
Some of the benefits is because you branded yourself, people are more open to working with you. Mm-hmm. You know, like if you're trying to get a client and the client is kind of on the fence, why would they choose you over someone else? It could be that you're more credible, or they see that you have more authority. They know they feel safe. They can trust that you know what you're doing, right? Now, it could be the case that someone else, it will be a better service provider than you. But if you brand yourself, they're going to go with you because they like your brand more. That's the reason why.
Yeah, it's kind of like building that loyal following instead of just getting new clients, right? There's a big difference between the two. And that's how you get like your referrals and can really expand your business. I know that's how we did it. We made sure that we would get referrals by, you know, branding ourselves as the authority in our industry. So that's super cool. So what are some ways that you recommend people to brand themselves? How do they say who they are and express themselves and show their brand?
So one of the ways you can express and show who you really are is to write a book. You know, you don't have to write a good book. It doesn't have to be a best-selling book, but just the mere fact of writing a book and calling yourself an author can position yourself as the expert. Now, these days, people don't understand, the general public doesn't understand. There's a difference between self-published and traditional published, but no one cares. Just the mere fact that the book is sold on Amazon, they're like, oh, it must be a real book, so this must be a real author. So simply doing that will help you position yourself, because I was 22 years old when I wrote 1001 Ways to Save Money. And I only did it because someone else gave me this advice. And I was like, okay, well, if no one's going to buy it, but I use it just to position myself, that's okay. So I wrote 1001 Ways to Save Money. It's literally a list. It's not like, you know, the next award-winning book. But I wrote that in only 3 months. I published it, put it up on Amazon. And Amazon also makes it easy for you to turn it into paperback as well. And at that point, I called myself an author. And that's how I was able to get like several accounting jobs in less than a week without an accounting degree, because people were like, oh, she must be an expert, even though I was like, 22 years old.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I've seen that too. Like, especially if you want like speaking gigs, if you don't have a book, they don't really hold you at that high standard if you're not an author. So it's crazy, and it's so easy to publish on Amazon. I've done it a couple of times, and I've even like created like journals for people to purchase and things like that. And it's so easy. It's so easy, and I think anyone can do it, or you can hire it out for really cheap as well. What are some other ways that we can brand ourselves, maybe even when it comes to like online? So maybe like social media or whatnot.
So for social media, it's a bit harder. That takes time because you have to build content for a specific audience. So that will take time. And I'm sure there's already a lot of people talking about it. So I don't want to touch on that, but I want to touch more on like actual branding aspect of the building a credibility and authority. Mm-hmm. So some of the things that people trust, that make people trust you, is they like to see logos, you know, like the Fox, CBS, NBC, ABC. How do you get those kind of logos on your site? And how are you able to put that on your bio as well, so that when you meet with people as a service professional, you can say like, hey, you know, I'm so good, I was featured on Fox or something like that. Well, there's this website, it's called brandfeatured.com. And you can pay $200 to $300 to write up a press release. What you do is they don't write the press release for you. You write up your press release and submit it to them. And they literally like word for word, copy paste that, what you gave them, and syndicate it to all of their different sites. And it will show up on CBS, ABC, etc. as a paid press release. It will say the word sponsored or paid or something to let people know this was not written by a journalist on their end, and they're not like promoting your service. You wrote this. Mm-hmm. But just the mere fact of getting your paid press release on their site allows you to put those logos on your website and call yourself an expert.
Oh, awesome. What are some other ways that we can establish ourselves as an expert?
Another way is to get an award. So that's something I notice other businesses do, even local businesses. They get the awards, you know, like rated top on Yelp, rated top on Google, or even like voted favorite in this specific neighborhood, voted #1 favorite in this neighborhood. How do you get those? Well, you're not just given awards. That's not how it works. You actually have to apply for awards, and you have to pay an application fee and throw your hat in the ring. Otherwise, you're not considered for the award. And I always thought, like, if you're really good at what you do, people are just going to wake up. You're just going to wake up one day. Someone's going to knock on your door and go like, hey, I really like what you have to offer. I want to give you an award. It doesn't work like that in anything. You don't just simply get recognized. You have to apply. So look for things that you can apply to that are related to your services, your business, in your industry, and apply. You know, throw your hat in the ring. Throw as many as you can until you win one. All you need to do is win one, and you're able to call yourself an award-winning business or voted #1 in such and such. And you're able to use that as social proof that you are the expert in this industry. This applies to authors as well. I'm going back to the book because I did it for myself. To be able to call myself an award-winning author, I applied to 50 book awards. I just, paid $5,000 in application fees. I'm like, I don't know who's going to say I'm a winner, so let's just do all of them. And then 2 of them already have come back a winner. 2 of them are finalists. But now I can say multiple award-winning author,
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. And you can position yourself using this kind of stuff.
Oh, that's super, super smart. And then now people usually have like really unique stories to tell. How can storytelling play a role in personal branding?
Well, you can start by thinking about your own experiences. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I like to do is I like to tell people, we don't like stories of people who have started with everything, who were born with that silver spoon in their mouths. We don't care for those kind of stories as much as we like to complain, like, I wasn't given anything. I started, behind the starting line, actually, but that makes a great story.
Yeah.
To have those struggles and challenges and to have started with nothing is a great story in itself. I also like to tell people to start with their identity. We put a lot of weight in our society on one's identity that we cannot change. So even if you are a minority in some respect, play on it. Like I play on 3 different ones. Like I play on the fact I'm Asian American. We make up less than 5% of the population, right? There's one. Oh, Asian Americans, we have a bamboo ceiling and we have affirmative action, can't get into Harvard. womp womp. You know, we have woman. I'm a woman. Wow, woman can't get ahead in the workplace. You know, it's always men that get promoted. We have a glass ceiling. So I play on that as well. And then I like to play on the millennial stereotype. Oh, millennials can't get ahead financially. We have it so bad. We were born into a recession coming out of college, and we can't buy houses. We can't buy cars. We're boomeranging back home to live with our parents. I play on that stereotype. So you know, I don't like to use it as a victim story, but I play on it like, oh, look how hard I have it, but look where I'm going. So that's how you can use it to develop your story.
Oh, that's awesome. And it always makes it's really easy to get, like, if you're ever going to be a guest on someone's podcast. So I'm a former foster kid. So that's one of the things that I play on. And it always gets me on a lot of podcasts because I'll be like, hey, former foster kid now owning multiple businesses. And they're like,
I love it.
Yeah, it's so much fun, and it works, and it gets my face in a lot more places because I play on that. So I 100% agree with that. So, what are some common missteps people make when crafting their personal brand, and how can it be avoided?
Yeah, even well-known experts in their industry who are really good at what they do, they mess this up. They're not consistent in their brand. Like I have seen even so-called best-selling authors. I research them. I look up everything about them online. I look up all of their social media profiles. One, they're not consistent in their headshot. You know, we get a picture of like one, they're looking forward at the camera. Another, they're looking to the side. Another, they're looking down. Another, you even see their back. I'm like, why? You know? So one of the things you have to do is keep using the same headshot over and over and over again in your online profiles, because if you don't do that, you have to think of the internet as like an actual world with 7 billion people. If you don't do that, if you're not consistent, especially because it's a 2D world, not a 3D world, people are not going to recognize that you're the same person. So they might come across your Facebook, but then they can't tell, oh, wait, I already saw her on Instagram. Like they cannot tell. So you have to make it easy for people by using the same picture, first of all. And second of all, the same name. There's a reason why I use Annie Margarita Yang. No one calls me that in real life. I'm just Annie Yang. But when I started branding myself online, I used Annie Margarita Yang because I was like, well, I want all of the Google and the Bing search results to tie back to content that I made, so that when people search me up online, it has all of this different content from like different websites, not just my own website, right? And people are going to be like, oh, wow, she must be like totally an expert, because that's what they see online, and it becomes its own echo chamber. So you got to be consistent with your photo and your name.
So what happens if someone has the same name as you that is also an expert, but in a different field? Do you suggest like maybe adding your middle name or something?
Yes. So if possible, if you have a middle name, add it. I was so reluctant to use Margarita because I'm like, it's not Chinese sounding, and it kind of like throws some people off. They're like, where does that come from? And it's also really long as well. People have to write out the whole thing, and I always have to say Margarita spelled like the drink. And so I personally, I was resistant to using it, but I've just come to terms with the fact, use your full name if you have it. It makes it much easier to brand yourself.
Yeah, because I know my name is very, very popular. If you look me up in any state, there's probably hundreds of them. Before I was married, I had a different last name, and it was super unique. So I went from having no one with my name to everyone having my name. So I run into that where there's other people that are experts in their fields, and you put my name in and their stuff sometimes comes ahead, and we actually kind of play tag. So sometimes I'm ahead and sometimes they are ahead. So it's always really, really interesting. Okay, awesome. And then given the rapid changes in the digital landscape and the way we present ourselves online, where do you see the future of personal branding headed?
Yeah, I feel like you got to get on TikTok, and I'm hesitant because I don't like short form content. You know, I feel like it fries my brain and attention span, and I cannot keep watching, 60-second videos. It doesn't build any loyalty either, but that's where it's headed, because 2 months ago I was in an acting class, and of course all of these people are Gen Z who have like aspirations to become famous, right? And then I asked the people in the class, I was like, well, how do you find an acting teacher? Because this is a group class. And one of them was telling me she had a private teacher as well. And I was like, well, how did you find your private teacher? She's like, I found her on TikTok. So I think that's where it's headed, because apparently people are finding professionals to hire through TikTok. So
Yeah, there's even things I used to go to Pinterest for, like Thanksgiving, right? It just passed. And so I used to go on Pinterest and look for Thanksgiving meals. Now I'm going to TikTok. I'm like, show me how to make it in 30 seconds. That's exactly what I want. And it's just so cool that how everything is kind of shifting. And so, yeah, I'm a big TikTok person. I love TikTok. I have so much fun and meet so many new cool people and learn things. So, I think I definitely agree. Like short form right now is where it's definitely at, and not even just on TikTok. Like even we've seen on LinkedIn, it's actually kind of blowing up short form, which is really interesting because before it used to be just like more quotes and pictures and not really video. So really, really cool. Well, I've loved having you on the show. Where can we find more about you, your services, and all that fun stuff?
Yep, you can find more about me on annieyangfinancial.com. That's ANNIEYANG financial.com. And a lot of the tips that I shared today on how to brand yourself and position yourself were actually in my book called The 5-Day Job Search. So to pick up a copy of The 5-Day Job Search, I have a special offer for your audience. If they add the book to the shopping cart directly on my site, they can use the coupon code VIRTUAL, VIRTUAL, to get a 10% off discount on the signed paperback copy.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'll make sure I put that in the show notes as well. But thank you again, Annie, for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure having you.
Thank you, Natalie. Really appreciate it.
Of course. And we'll talk to you guys next time on the Virtual Antics Podcast.